And in somber news, today is the 15th anniversary of what newsmen have been calling the Donner High Massacre.
Hi, I'm Anastasia Elfman, and I played Dahlia Dimont, who played Mary in End Zone 2.
Hi, my name is Liesel Hanson, and I played Patricia Ford playing Deb.
My name's Lianne O'Shea, and I played Shelly.
Hi, my name is Maiya Reaves, and I played the role of Linda.
My name is Trista Robinson, and I played Percy Wynne, who played Nancy.
I'm friends with Sophia and Michael, and I assume they thought that I could fit the part, and so they offered it to me, and I fell in love.
Michael and Sophia made a post. I can't remember which one of them did it, but they made a post on Facebook and just like sprinkled some breadcrumbs in there. I didn't know anything about the project at all, but they said like a 70s Jane Fonda or 60s, 70s Jane Fonda. And I went, I don't know what it is, but I nominate myself for that.
I was finishing up filming a movie in Malaysia, and like a week before I was supposed to come back home, I got their email and they said, hey, so since you're coming back home, would you be interested in maybe making this thing with us? And I said, hell yeah.
I got involved in the project through Sophia Cassiola and Michael Epstein, who reached out to me.
I actually got involved with the project through Lianne, a good friend of mine who I'd performed with and also sort of became friends with through that performance right before I moved to Los Angeles. And our friendship and her understanding my work ethic and living together for a little while kind of made me a good candidate to ask. And then once I sat down with Michael and Sophia, I felt like the vibes were there. We were feeling it. We were into each other. And the project started soon after. So I had actually just come out of an improv class, so I was feeling especially ready for anything, and had prepped for another horror film that never happened. So I had also recently just been watching more horror films and just kind of felt especially primed and ready to start this very unique project.
I know Maiya because we both used to work for a children's show where we traveled the world doing yo-yo tricks for children. So a very different vibe than this movie.
My character was a bit daunting to play because she has PTSD, so I took it really seriously. Obviously, that's something that a lot of people suffer from, and it's a very serious issue. So, especially the film takes place in the 70s, where I don't think people were considering or perhaps not aware of the problem quite as much as we are today. So, yeah, she's very haunted.
It was really fun because I kind of got to be the mean girl, which was really one of the first times that I had ever done that. Normally I get kind of put in a box of a nice, bubbly person. I don't know why.
I loved Mary. She was kind of a snarky, sassy, kind of prissy woman. I thought she was kind of the bad guy in the film until I saw the film, and then I realized she wasn't as bad as I thought.
I love Deb. I feel like the experience of reading the script and seeing what it was like on page and then seeing how it turned out in the room was very different. I think when I read the part the first time, I thought, oh, okay, so she's sort of mean, or she's sort of edgy, or she's got this, she's kind of making these little jokes that punctuate scenes. And watching the movie and, and being on set, actually working with the other girls, I kind of realized, like, no, she's very serious. She's the sort of the serious, like, thoughtful, feminist warrior. She's the one who's checking in on everybody and reading her book. She's the person who really would rather be reading her book than being in a movie.
And I also really enjoyed working with so many other women. I mean, just by nature of the story, it's 5 women in a cabin. But I don't think I have ever shared an entire film with a mainly female cast, which was really, really cool.
Everybody made their character so their own that I wasn't even expecting, like, Lianne's character, I wasn't even expecting her to be like the meanie. I thought I was the meanie. And then I watched the film and then all of a sudden, like, oh, I'm not the bad guy. Okay. But the whole time through filming, I actually thought that I was like the uber bitch of like the group. And I wasn't.
You always find a way to be talking when you should be keeping your mouth shut.
Actually, I think I like brought her aside afterwards. I was like, you're the bitch. I'm not the bitch. Finally.
What I thought of my character, Linda, initially was that she was kind of spineless, which I really liked. Not that she never gained her voice or never had grown, but I really enjoyed kind of being able to be manipulated a little bit more than maybe I normally would in other characters, where I might feel like I know what's going on or play the ending. With someone like her, I got to lean into the comedy of not knowing anything about anything, missing people's undertones, missing people's like insinuations, and like I almost enjoyed her like immaturity at times while really embracing that, like, you know, Arrested Development, you know, at the time that this murder happened and that the stuff that happened at her high school, that she was stuck there. And for better or for worse, this purgatory place was like gonna be a part of her life and gonna be a space that she knew. So I liked playing with like the devil you know versus the devil you don't with her, because she, as much as she enjoyed the time sort of like with the girls gossiping and enjoying that, it also was a safety net for her as well. How it was much scarier to be in the world that she didn't understand, where people were maturing and growing past certain events in their lives.
I didn't really want to get caught up on attacking the character from the outside in, so to speak. It's more important for me personally, my process, to find where I resonate with the character and focus on that so that there's nothing of a caricature happening.
So for me, I kind of really try to get a hold of the story before I start to think about the character. So I remember specifically for this, I was just wanting to go in totally blank. And I read the script 10 times before I even thought about anything that I might do as this person or what, you know, a certain thing would look like. I just wanted to absorb the story and see what was happening. And also then I think when I dive in to do a little bit more about who this person is, I know the story, I know where it's going, I know how these people relate to each other.
My process for developing Mary as a character, I come from like kind of method, Stella Adler training, so I like to build a character. I tend to only read the full script once, just because I don't like learning anything as the character that the character wouldn't know.
So although I play, obviously, playing a character when I'm attacking the role, I'm not thinking of that. That would be kind of like too far removed. I'm just playing Nancy, really. I'm not trying to play Percy playing Nancy. So I'm not able to be sort of macro. I'm very focused on her objectives and her point of view, obviously, because that's my service to the project. So I really just, as with any project, at any character, I devote a lot of time at home alone to the script, just minding the script over and over. And then when I arrive on the location, I pretty much throw all of that work behind me in order to react organically to the ensemble and the location and whatever else is happening within the world of the film.
I did have a process for developing Linda. I feel like if I could go back, I feel like always with process, you're like, I could process more, I could add more. But with her, I really liked leaning into the silliness and the whimsy of it all. And there's something that's so intriguing, I think, about being a bit of a gossip. Like, I love a little gossip. I love someone who kind of overtalks, runs their mouth a little bit.
Out of sheer boredom, I told just a few people that I'd heard that he had a big
did watch a little bit of like Gossip Girl, way out of the era. But in addition to the horror films that we watched, I watched Gossip Girl. I kind of watched things go from small to big because I was really interested in that piece of the script where Linda talks about this story that no one's heard or maybe have heard 1,000 times, but she adds these new colors to it just because she enjoys so much being able to air out Smazmouth, and there's that enjoying how how powerful she feels when she's gossiping. I really like tapping into that and then kind of spreading out.
Because I felt that my character was more Sharon Tate-y, so I started watching more Sharon Tate films just to kind of get like her timing of her dialogue, and there's like a little bit of a hesitation with the way that she like says her lines and things, and I just kind of wanted to I don't know, it just felt like my character was, in some stuff she was a little hesitant, and so I just felt like that was a perfect marriage for me to just kind of reference that, and also with her looks and everything, like the little sweepies and the little eye makeup I wanted to toss in Sharon.
Do enjoy campy horror, but I think that this is kind of something of its own. I think it really helps. The groundedness really helps sell that this was shot in 1970 and not in 2019.
I watched Black Christmas, the original Black Christmas, several times. I watched Three Women, which I love. And most of it, I love 60s, 70s movies. That's sort of my favorite pocket of time in filmmaking history for me. So I already think I have a lot of that era's filmmaking in my blood. But I was watching specifically movies to try to get. I didn't want to do an accent for the movie, but I did want to bring in different time periods have sort of a different accent almost, and I wanted to bring in some of the sort of very flat sound without it sounding fakey. So I did a lot of recording myself talking.
There were definitely lots of very legitimate movies that I watched ahead of time, but one of the silly ones was Clueless, and kind of leaning into the Dion character of it all, a little bit out of sorts, not really knowing what's going on, but always being a little bit more emotional than the scene needed. And I liked kind of pulling from that, from the sort of the Cher and Dion dynamic of Dion always being kind of like a spike of emotion, kind of ill-timed. like not always understanding, but just being like, ugh.
For me, I feel like I have to be careful. I don't want to watch too many other films. I don't want to accidentally mimic another performance.
Homework was to watch movies from that era and that style of acting. I think the favorite for me that I watched that I had never seen before but did as kind of my actor homework was The Long Goodbye. And something I noticed in that, and every movie I watched from that era, is it's very, very natural, very small.
Hey, Eileen, what was Marty Augustine doing here the other night?
How did you know?
I followed him here from my place. He dropped by to have a word or two with me, and I was just curious to see who else he wanted to talk to. It turned out to be you.
Everything feels so real. I think the style of the camera feels very much like a fly on the wall in a real situation. And so that was something that I tried to take with me into my performance, remembering that, and I think I was someone who started in theater and then transitioned to film. And this is something that, I was telling myself even then, it's like, it's okay if it doesn't feel big, because a lot of times things don't feel as big as they might on stage. But this even more, I found myself just really staying connected with whoever I was in the scene with. I think of one specifically, the moment when Shelly and Nancy are talking and Shelly brings up her sister who died in Zone 1.
You found the strength within to save us.
I just remember being in such a small hallway, and it felt like we were just whispering to each other. Like shooting that, it felt so small and quiet, which I imagine may have been what it felt like to shoot something like The Long Goodbye or The Three Women or something that was of that time.
So I think it's really interesting watching Sophia and Michael work on set together because it's kind of like mom and dad, you know, like little minor bickering, but like also getting the shots that they need and not being afraid to like retake like scenes and things like that. I mean, they're both very like, they know what they want. And I love working with people like that who have like a clear sense of the vision of the film and not like loosey-goosey, like just getting stuff done.
Okay, this is very silly because I don't think it really comes across in what I actually did. But I did practice with fake cigarettes because I was like very determined to not look like a non-smoker. And I feel like because I practiced with it so much, I absolutely look like someone who's never seen a cigarette a day in my life. Like there's just too much hands. But I practiced. I like went on a couple little walks with like theater cigarettes in my neighborhood, like walked around and smoked and talked to myself.
You, Sophia, gave us really great photo references of what the idea for our characters were, which was very cool because I think with late 60s, early 70s fashion, there's a big spectrum of what you could be. And it was very interesting to see that each character kind of fell into one of those things. We weren't all dressed as hippies, or we weren't all dressed as, you know, a little more business savvy or whatever you want to call it. And that also helped too, to know what the vision was for Shelly, like what she dressed like. Was she kind of a person that puts on a bit of a costume to pretend to be someone that she's not, which really kind of helped me get inside the character. That's something that that's like the final step for me, is the wardrobe.
My favorite thing that I got to wear was that feminism pin. It's a real vintage pin that I have still, which I love. I haven't worn it since making the movie, but I have it on the wall. Yeah, Deb is very, she's not a girly girl. She's, button down shirt. I love the cowboy shirt that I got to wear, the little like Western shirt, and big pants, all big pairs of pants, big wide legs.
Well, Sophia and Michael were very specific about it being a certain era in 1970s. And Sophia sent me some options of like kind of like reference photos to kind of tailor Mary's look to. And so I was in charge of doing Mary's makeup and hair and the wardrobe. And
Sophia sent us each a character lookbook, which I thought was really super helpful, especially like color palettes makeup wise. I don't know exactly why this is what I latched onto, but I wore so much makeup on this movie, and I feel like other than like clown paint or like a character, like a creature character, I wore more makeup in this movie than I have ever worn on anything else, and I don't think that shows up necessarily because of the way we shot it, but I feel like I wanted to have that like caramel sort of sheen, that like, oh, she's a character who doesn't really care about appearances, but also she's got all the makeup on. And I remember I was getting ready next to Trista one of the mornings, and she said, "Oh my God, you do so much. Like, I could never do that much. Is that how you normally are? Like, do you wear that much makeup or put that much attention into how you look?" And I was like, oh no, this is the most I've ever done. I was flat ironing, I was lip glossing, everything. I don't know why exactly that was what the deal was, but Deb needed a lot of bronzer.
Costuming was on point. I have never loved wearing costumes more. They really dropped me into like the cabin fever of it all and the 70s feeling. What's fun is like I recently cut my hair into this kind of like asymmetrical like sort of shape, and I was still figuring it out and like what I wanted to do with it. But I feel like it kind of came together well in the film and giving like Linda this kind of like up kind of sense, a little bit of like I don't know, like almost girl-like in the way that it was parted and kind of like slicked on one side or like up and crazy on another side. And anyway, I felt like the way we incorporated the clothing, especially colors wise, was just brought in so much fun. And obviously gave us that piece of the 70s that we weren't naturally experiencing, but got to kind of tap in. Plus, unbeknownst to us, we really matched well with the furniture in the cabin. Like the way the cabin was a character of its own and then was also stuck in that time period with us, like there was nothing but a marriage there.
So I kind of stayed within like neutral colors and things like that, and just like trying to really do justice to the 1970s in a way, but kind of peeking out of the late 60s, I would say, because with fashion, it kind of stalls a little bit. It's not like, in the 70s, it's not like bright 70s.
Sophia Cassiola was in charge of the wardrobe, and it was one thing that I noticed when I watched the film later, how well that worked, and the colors, etc. And also, I just felt very comfortable in the wardrobe. And as far as the makeup is concerned, or was concerned, we did receive instructions on makeup that would be appropriate for the character. Fortunately, mine was pretty simple in regards to my character. She kind of was more natural makeup, which I sort of do in real life anyway. So I felt grateful for that because I'm not a makeup artist, so I'm not too adept at that.
Doing my own hair and makeup was a blast. It's something that I really like to do as well. I have worked as a makeup person, but not so much for stuff like this, more for special effects, really bloody type things. So it was fun to choose what I was going to do for this character. And also it was fun to think about, okay, this is all happening in one night, but obviously we didn't shoot it all in one night. We shot it over, I think, 7 nights altogether. And so I was also thinking about what's something I can recreate perfectly over and over and over again. How can I make sure my hair looks the same over and over and over again from day 1 to day 7?
I did have an approach for kind of moving into the era that we were in. I mostly just focused on speech and less on body. And I tried to articulate through things, and I sort of tried to follow speech patterns from the resource material that we got from Sophia and Michael. But I also kind of like layered in with what the girls were doing. Like I definitely didn't want to feel so departed, like, oh, like I'm only speaking in this particular way, but I definitely tried to take at least cadence and speed into consideration. Because I think like how quickly I jumped on or didn't jump on someone's line proved to be important to me. And then how quickly my lines were in general, kind of giving a sense of the style. Hopefully it was something that people picked up on or didn't pick up on because it was so seamless.
A kind of fun part for me was I talked to my mom a little bit about this role. I didn't tell her about the whole secret and everything, but, she was in her 20s in the 70s. So it was close enough where I wanted to be like, hey, so what was on your mind at this time? Like, what was the fashion like? What would you have worn? How was life in 1970? And that was a really fun part of the project, just to kind of talk to her about even just the smallest things. Like when I was getting my makeup together to go out to the shoot, she was like, hey, make sure you get things that don't have shimmer in them because we didn't really have that. So just little basic things that were, something that it's really cool to be able to get a firsthand account of what a time was like that you didn't live in.
I always like being on location with people, especially if you're all staying where you're shooting, because it really does feel like summer camp. So getting to shoot where we were and having everything be in one place and not having to come and go and get ready super early and plan drive time and everything, it was really fun. It was really lovely. I loved the cabin that we were shooting in, the strange cabin that we were shooting in. And I'd never spent any time in Lake Arrowhead before, so getting to be there, it was very cold, but it was really gorgeous.
The hardest parts for me as an actor were being outside in the cold, because it was like December in Lake Arrowhead. And so we were getting maybe like a little bit of snow. I don't remember, but it felt like it was snowing. It was so cold. So in the scenes where we were outside, it took everything in me to like not start convulsing, because it was like, and I run pretty chilly as it is. And so just being outside, that was a challenge for me, but I like challenges. So it was fun.
The night we were out in the woods, because you can't really tell on screen, but it was about 35 degrees, so it's pretty chilly. And so we were all just like working, trying to get what we needed as fast as we could. And everyone was out of breath and freezing and just like psyched to be there, but also trying to get it done and making sure that everyone was safe and nobody was, starting to get hypothermic or anything like that. So I think, though it was challenging, it was extremely rewarding. And that night, I think we all went back and like just sat snuggled up next to the fire I think we got pizza too.
The shoot was so much fun. It's like hard to even think about what was hard about it. It was very, very cold. When we shot my scene outside on the porch at night, I remember I put an extra shirt on under my Western shirt because it was so cold. And then I had to lie down on the porch, and it was really only for like 5 minutes, but it was so cold that I could not stop my body from shaking. And it really was like, that was the hardest moment, was just trying to control, like being in the cold will exhaust you. And I feel like that was really, really exhausting and physically tricky. But other than that, I was, for the most part, pretty lucky. Everybody was tromping around outside, and I was sitting on the couch watching movies.
So the hardest part of the shoot for me, sadly, was just the times we had to be outside. It was so cold, and I hate to complain because as I don't know, I can say, me and Liesel, that one day when it was nighttime, everyone was out running stunts and it's nighttime, that is an unmatched cold, and I can acknowledge that. But I'm just a wimpy, girl. And I wasn't prepared. I had to borrow like coats and stuff from a friend because I had no winter clothes here at all. So the times we were outside, I still felt chilly, and that was it. But I mean, if a little cold is the hardest thing, then you're on a pretty great set with pretty great people. Am I right?
The Lake Arrowhead location was really unique and really served the film perfectly. I think I noticed that when watching it again. Our cabin was very sort of kitsch and came sort of perfectly set dressed for the film.
So we shot End Zone 2 in Lake Arrowhead at a really gorgeous cabin. It was, it had so many antlers and moose and deer. It was very stylized, cabin-esque. And so that was fun to get out of the city. And I brought my family along with me, and we kind of made it a little family vacation. So I brought my husband, Richard, and my daughter, Audrey, and Richard found Airbnb literally up the street from where we were filming. So yeah, we got to make it a little family vacation. So it was super fun because I got to bring them both on set too, in between like different scenes and stuff. So that was nice.
So I arrived to the shoot late after everybody else, and everybody made me feel super welcome, but it still was a little bit of a bummer because I felt like I had missed out. I had a little bit of FOMO. And then, I can't remember what I was doing. I was shooting, I was in a Christmas show, so then I had to show up late. And by the time I got there, everybody had already moved in and had a meal and been shooting and everything like that. So it kind of felt like I had missed out on all the introductions and everything.
And being in the setting, that kind of thing, it's really like all that fun work you do as an actor at home with your script and blah, blah, blah. It's really all sinks in, I think, when you're there in the space. It's like, oh, yes, this is what I imagined. This is real thing. This is the real old telephone from 1970 I'm picking up, like that kind of thing.
Oh, shooting Lake Arrowhead was a trip. I'd actually never been to Lake Arrowhead before. So I was excited to go. Lianne, because she's a great person, was like, I'll pick you up. Like, we'll just ride out there. So I didn't have to worry about, like, well, how will I find this mountainous cabin? Like, what if my GPS goes out? And, like, what if it snowed? Like, none of that. It was nice to be departed from LA. It gives you a chance to just be somewhere else, be someone else in many ways. And at that point, I was so strapped to being in LA that like I actually did need to leave, but I couldn't afford vacation. So thanks, you know? But leaving felt really cool because that is a place that kind of does feel a little trapped in time in certain ways. Like, it's not necessarily a modern place. And it's like even the little like grocery stores that were there and little shops that are there, they are kind of encapsulated in a time period. The fact that you are outside of your own time in your own typical space. Also, I love the cabin's decor. I can't talk about it enough. The freaking mooses and the little like the piece, every little piece of it, the like colors of everything, the wood nature of everything, it really dropped us in. Because even when I went to sleep, I was like, oh, like we're still here, dropped into the world, even if I wasn't filming at that time. Because it is quite a feat to like film in one room, film in another room, film upstairs, film downstairs. And I actually still found myself having time to like sit on the porch with my coffee, like sit outside, go grab this thing, go sit in the basement, like to do those things. Just sort of was a credit to the space that was chosen and the space we created by kind of like not being afraid to be on top of each other, but also, I don't know, being kind of tight, keeping it kind of tight spatially, where it you know, the whole place could have been like in ruin.
My daughter Audrey, she was kind of excited, but then also some of the scenes I didn't realize that she would get like an emotional. She was younger. This was like 4 years ago. Now she's almost 16, but you know, she was tinier then. So it was a little much. So at one point I had to have Ricky take her, but she overall she had fun. And because I like choosing like strong, like female-driven stories and strong female characters. I like her to see like women on set and getting things done. So just to be like a good role model for her.
This has been a really interesting experience for me because when I first received the script, I was so focused on my purpose, which is to bring my character to life. So I was very earnestly tackling this woman who's suffering from PTSD, which is like something so awful and unimaginable, and I want to do right by that. And then I watched the movie and I'm like laughing, like, oh, this is silly, this is so fun, like and you know, we're in on the joke, so it's okay to laugh. And it's I've never had something where I've received a script and I've tackled it in earnest, and then I watch it and it's kind of like, you know, because I'm being myopic, I'm one part of a grander vision, and the vision is just super fun, and but I was so tortured and like serious about it, so it's been interesting for me.
When I first read the script, I literally was like, fuck yeah. This is awesome. Because I'm a fan of horror. I think even if you aren't a fan of horror, if you like movies in general, you know what the tropes are. You know, oh, there's the final girl. Oh, someone's going to sacrifice themselves for someone else. There's going to be a brutal this. And, you know, this might happen. And there might be a cannibal in the woods in a cabin. And I loved that you were all able to incorporate kind of all of the big horror tropes that at least I know of anyway in this one script and make it feel organic and not pushed and not like, you know, put on, not trying to fit these things in here.
I love the script. I feel like it was written exactly in the style of the movies of that era. The sort of combination of like directness, and every character was, I think, really clearly defined on the page, which is always really fun if the writing is simple and the characters are defined, then you have so much room to play and bring in different colors and find the dynamics in between characters. Also it's a movie about a killer football player, so I love the over-the-top stuff is exactly right. The balance between these really like grounded scenes and then this crazy cannibal shit is perfect.
I did have my shooting script still at home, so I brought that with me.
It felt like most of us come from theater background. I might be wrong about that, but because of there being these similarities in the way that we were all working, the fact that we could get together at the beginning of the day and run lines and work scenes and then show up to shoot feeling totally comfortable and confident and having the rhythm of what we were doing already set really, really put me at ease. Because it's not always the way it is, Lots of people will want to, especially if you're shooting something like film-wise, people will want to kind of save something or not overwork a scene. But because we had these long scenes that we were working all in one big chunk, it was really comforting to know that when we got there and everything was going and everything was set up, that we were just going to be able to go through it and not have any issues.
So we did have enough time to have some longer takes on this film, and that is kind of a luxury. I've had that on other films, but what I really liked about this film is that it was a bigger ensemble. So I've had maybe lots of takes or more time when I'm doing stuff kind of on my own. But when I have like 4 scene partners, it's kind of more special to have that luxury in a way, because it's almost like you have a rehearsal. So when you're able to work a scene a couple of times, hopefully it's just getting better and better and better. And then you're finding more things based on what everybody else is bringing, and it's different every time. So that was really special because I love acting, right? I love theater. I love rehearsal. I love doing that. And when it's with other people and there's just surprises, and that's kind of where the magic happens.
I come from the stage. I grew up in the theater. I've been doing classical ballet since I was 3. So I enjoy very fast takes and getting to like the meat of everything. So I don't like sitting around and letting I feel like my creative passion as like an actor kind of dips if I'm just sitting on set waiting for everything. So I really enjoyed how Sophia and Michael both just like breezed through everything. I didn't feel like anything was taken away by us moving so fast. I actually thought that it was great because it was like we could get through so much stuff and keep the energy going, because a lot of the film was us being chased. And so it's like I wanted to keep that energy up. And in a way stay scared, just so that it made sense to the viewer.
I loved the long takes. I come from a theater background, so having to do an entire scene all in one go and then change the angle and do it again, it felt like rehearsal. It felt like we were shooting while we were rehearsing, which I'm very, very comfortable with. And it was nice because it gave me a chance to settle in, especially like in some of those group scenes, I wasn't speaking as much as some other characters. And it gave me a chance to really feel the energetic flow of the scenes rather than having it be all chopped up. The thing that was, I think, difficult about the way that we shot was really not knowing what it was going to look like at all, because we didn't see any dailies, anything. I didn't see a single bit of footage from the monitor the entire time we shot. So I think there was a lot of, it felt like we were shooting on film. It felt like there was a lot of guesswork involved of like, oh, I'm pretty sure that I'm in frame if I'm here, but I'm not 100% sure. So I'm just gonna live in it and be in this real space and try to do what I can to not get taken by surprise, and just like be prepared every day with the full scene and not expect to just be able to do one little chunk here and there.
The way we shot was interesting, especially with the longer takes, because I had never shot in such long takes before. I wouldn't have admitted that then, because I hoped it looked very seamless for me, but it gave me kind of the challenge of really being on it, and it made those rehearsals that much more necessary. But the way we were able to kind of drop into the scenes and let things unfold, I loved and appreciated. So it's worth the challenge of taking bigger bites if you're going to get that kind of content. Like that one especially long, gorgeous scene of all of us kind of circulating. Her thoughts are overwhelming her in those moments. And then there's like scenes behind her and scenes in the foreground. Like without having that especially long shot, I don't think I could have possibly enjoyed all the little nooks and crannies of it. And in fact, when watching, I rewound that scene so many times so I could pick up on every little thing that was going on.
When you're making a movie like this, you're so focused as an actor on what you're doing that then seeing the footage is almost like an out-of-body experience. There was this scene where we had all this dialogue and all this stuff that we were doing. It's a breakfast scene, and the core girls are walking around and we have a bunch of dialogue. And I remember I was so focused on continuity, like, I have the juice in this hand and I have the plate in this hand, and I'm trying to really like focus on making sure that I'm being consistent where I'm putting everything on the table. And then we look at the scene, and it is my favorite bit of footage from the entire thing, because what it is Trista in the foreground and all of us blurry in the background, like from here down, and with this beautiful classical guitar playing over her, like, dissociating.
I've been coming out here on my own every year since, well, the Troubles.
And not listening to us at all. And it's so funny to me that these moments that you have to do the actor work that you do. You have to try to do whatever you can to be present and consistent and make the filmmakers' jobs easy. And then you watch it and you're like, okay. But it's so effective. It's so good. It's like, yeah, it doesn't matter what we're saying. Blah, blah, blah. We're in the background. This is what it's about. I love that. Just that little shift of perspective. Like, I had no idea. I don't think I even knew where the camera was or if I was on camera or not. And then you see the footage and it's like, oh, that's perfect. That's so much better than what I thought it was going to be.
I really enjoyed that line that Mary gives about nuts. We ended up filming it a bunch of different times in different variations, and it just totally cracked everybody up on set.
If she's nuts, then I'm nuts. We're all nuts. Nuts.
It was fun to experiment with saying it different ways, because it's like myself, I practice it one way and then it's like totally different on the day, just depending on like who I'm playing with and like what the tone changes into, because sometimes it's like on script, it was one tone and then sometimes it morphed into something else after a few takes, just like vibing with everybody on set, so.
I loved the way we shot. I will say time and time and again, maybe not so obviously but this is one of my favorite sets I've ever been on, hands down. Like, it was amazing that we were all together. We were all living together. Everybody got along. Everybody was cool and kind and hardworking and came ready to do their job and knew how to do their job. And everybody was good. I mean, it was really, really unreal just from a workplace standpoint. And I think that just made every time we went to set, we went to shoot so much better, because we were doing long takes and we were working on the same scene for hours at a time, but everyone was bringing their A game and everyone kind of came ready to play, which was very fun. And did remind me of theater in a way, just because I think there are styles of film, especially now, where, you do 1-2 lines and you cut, or you move on to something else, or you're shooting out of order. But this, I'm remembering that we shot mostly in order, which I think really helped, in order being from the beginning of the script to the end of the script. And did make my page shooting record on this movie, which I think a lot of people did. And a movie I did this summer, the director asked me, he's like, what was your record? And I said, we did 19 pages in one day. And for most people that work in film, it's like, I'm sorry, you did what? Like, that's crazy. And I don't even think we went into overtime that day. I'm pretty sure we did like a normal day, 18 or 19 pages. And that felt incredible. I think, especially with the style of shooting nowadays, sometimes you leave and you don't know how a scene's going to turn out. But when we were able to do a huge chunk like that all at once, kind of all in one go, it was like, oh, I have an idea of what this is going to feel like, because you felt it in the moment. You weren't building up a momentum and then stopping. It was just building momentum, doing it for a really long time, and, working through the entire scene or working through that entire moment or beat in the script. And then taking a second, taking a breath, taking a drink, and then doing it again.
Working with Sophia and Michael, it was interesting because they both co-directed the film. So it was like Sophia would have an idea, and then like Michael would take a second to like get on board, and then we would take the scene, and then maybe he would run with that idea, and then we would take the scene somewhere else. So it was like interesting working on the scene alone, myself as the actor rehearsing and then bringing it to set and just having my stuff ready to go to actually play like literal ball with these guys, because, they definitely challenge you. Sophia and Michael challenged me as an artist just to like be ready, and because they had so many interesting ideas, stuff that I didn't even think of, like taking the story different ways and the characters different ways.
Okay, there's a favorite. There was this one little moment where we're hanging out downstairs talking, and then we hear sound and go Scooby-Doo running up the stairs, and then all come Scooby-Dooing into the room. And there was something so much fun about, I think especially as a contrast to all these like more grounded scenes that I was involved in, to then suddenly go full physical and full comedy was really, really fun.
Something I got to do that I was really excited about was to tell Nancy, like, go, save yourself. I'll hold him off.
Shelly, what are you doing?
Go. I've got some fight left.
I think as an actor, it's really, really fun because the stakes are so high. So you get to be a little crazy, and you get to find things that you didn't know were there. You get to really, really live in the moment because, when you're running around the woods with a camera behind you, you can't think about your actor homework or what your intent is or any of that stuff. You're just that character. You're there in the moment, which is, I think, the way it should be.
First of all, I absolutely loved my fake out death. Like, one of the earlier things I said to Michael and Sophia was that I was like, oh, am I gonna die first? And then when I didn't, yes! Like, so my fake death, I absolutely adored.
I loved all of the cast that I dealt with. Everybody was great. It was really wonderful because we didn't have any real rehearsals that I remember. There was like one read through that I couldn't come to. And so I'm not sure how far everybody got in that read through, but I was kind of just walking on set really cold in the way of usually like I'll have like a little rehearsal with somebody. So I felt like for me as an actor, it's like I'm only as good as my scene partners, and I thought everybody really like came to the plate and knocked it out. I had a wonderful time with everybody.
I actually watched the film recently after reading the script, and it was amazing how true to the script I thought everything was, and how just impressive the performances were.
And I was like, there's a lot of fun stuff in here. Oh, here it is. I opened right to that page. Ba, 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 ba. She committed the murders. Shelly wells up with tears.
Okay.
I'm sorry. It's not your fault. I don't blame you. But anyway, yeah, that was a really fun scene to shoot because obviously a lot of the film goes on to be a horror movie. A lot of it, we're running around, we're screaming, we're smashing bottles over heads, which was so fun. But I think this moment was so quiet, which was really, really fun to have in juxtaposition with the, blood smeared all over the place, fingers in blenders kind of thing.
Also stuck out to me about the final product is the opening of the film, too, because that was, I think, just me, Sophia Cassiola. What I'm referring to specifically is the cheerleader, dream sequence. And Michael Epstein, too. I think it was just the three of us. And that was sort of after the fact that we shot that. And then I thought it was like a really creepy part of and the film opens in such a specific way otherwise, but I was really stunned by how creepy that turned out and effective.
My favorite bit of dialogue was just that little oh, you should, I've been going to these meetings. You should come. And then Trista cuts it off so fast.
I've been going to meetings down at the bookstore. A lot of women getting together, talking about the world. You should come with me sometime.
I might like to have a little time alone.
That's my favorite, yeah. Yeah, Deb really, really has a huge crush on Trista, for sure.
The seance scene. So dynamic. And I felt like we all were so dedicated to that scene having the legs that it had. And I think if even one person was goofing off for that moment, it couldn't have been the same. But I felt like even when we stepped into on set that day, the way it was laid out and where we were going to be sitting, I think it was as specific and as nailed down as we'd gotten, but everyone was really ready for it. And there was such a commitment to absolutely giving as much to that as we possibly could so that you guys had a lot for it. Because it is this anchor point in it that actually brings in so much of the horror, so much of the grounding of the characters that we can no longer laugh at. I mean, we obviously can always laugh at them, but there was something so truthful about it that brought an eeriness to it when I watched it later and was like, oh God, this is creepy.
The seance scene sticks out to me particularly. I was excited about that. I do a lot of horror, so I just got it right away. I also have a very specific voice that I was excited to play with. I was excited to play with the physicality. I've played with those things before. I've played characters that are possessed, etc. So I felt and it was also written with some humor. It's sort of when the ghost first arrives, she's like, "Oh, I forgive you," and then and they're like, "Great," thinking it's all, and then she unleashes on them, and I thought that was hilarious. So I really loved that scene. I was excited to play.
We ask you for forgiveness.
Forgiveness!
Yes. Those that have caused you heartache and irreparable damage to your son Jimmy have been punished. Please leave us in peace.
You have forgiveness. I will go in peace.
Thank you, Angela.
My son will come for you. He will find you. He will avenge me. You will know pain and suffering and blood.
Wait, what?
The seance scene was really special, I think, especially because it was all of us. And I had no idea what Trista was going to do until she started doing it. And so feeling the surprise and spookiness, genuine spookiness of that moment while just sitting right across the table, I just gave myself goosebumps. Trista, come on. She's so spooky in that scene. It's insane how creepy it is. And I just love her so much. And she's so cute and tiny and wonderful. And I know her better than anyone else that, she's somebody that I already knew. So to see her go full rictus, possessed person creepy was such a treat.
I remember being on set and doing that scene and be like, in my head, stay in character. Like, yes, she's doing fucking amazing, but like, you're in this scene right now, you know, be in this scene. So yeah, I loved doing that scene. It was so fun.
And love that Linda gets the chance to like perform for the group. I forgive Nancy for killing me. It was not her fault. Like, she lives for this shit. She'd rehearsed for it. Like, she has no, and again, another delicious moment where she loses sight of exactly what's going on at exactly the wrong moment, but which makes it so funny. There was like a piece for everyone. And I felt like everybody ate that piece up.
Especially, you know, for me, growing up, it was the craft and Now and Then and people, you know, doing light as a feather, stiff as a board at slumber parties. So I was like, oh, I get to do a seance on screen. And not only do I get to be in it, but like I get to lead it. How fucking cool is this? So that was really incredible. And then also being in the moment on set, I mean, Trista just, every time we did it, she blew it out of the park. And every time we did it, it was so different. So it was very, very cool to be in the moment, to be living this scene, to be living this seance, and not know what was going to happen.
They belong to us. Women belong to us, just as a tree that bears fruit belongs to a gardener. What a mad idea to demand equality for women. Women are nothing but machines for producing children. That's Napoleon. This is what people think. What? What are you talking about?
What kind of tree, though?
We were shooting on my birthday and I was feeling a little sassy. So having this book that I was reading through the entire scene, the Feminist Manifesto, and every page I was turning had these insane quotes on them. And I was genuinely feeling like I wanted to start sharing them with people. So at some point, I just started buttoning scenes by reading whatever it was on the page that I was looking at. And the I think it's so funny that it wound up in the movie. But the fact that what's in the movie is me reading the quote about women being machines to bear children, and there's something about the fruits of the women from the tree or something like that. And then just hearing, what kind of tree, off mic, made me laugh so hard when we saw it on the big screen for the first time, because I did not expect any of that to make it in the movie. And then the fact that there was that off-screen line is so perfect.
Liesel's so great to work with because I feel like she's so open, and obviously she was willing to change that line no matter what page she turned it to. And so I kind of jumped into the fun of that, and just I kept thinking, what can I do to kind of button up this moment for her, like tear up a little bit. And I didn't even know what would be kept, honestly, like as we ran so many kind of different versions of, but I don't know. I just fucking around, having fun with her. Like, I remember having a good long day with Liesel when the other girls were filming outdoors to just like riff raff and be silly. And so we kind of built a rapport there that I felt like lasted in the film a little bit more, even though here you have a really intelligent woman who's interested in the world and its dynamics, and then like someone who's actually not interested in anything much greater than this dynamic where she feels powerful.
A nice thing that we all talked about before we went into production was making sure that this movie felt real, that nobody was winking at the camera, nobody was aware that they were in a movie.
We had some added scenes that we shot in front of the TV.
Thanks for jumping around, sorry.
You're getting your aerobics today.
All right, you good? Good to go.
I've never done that ever before, and I felt sort of insecure because I wasn't sure if I was doing it right. And that's one of the things that when I watched the film on my own, I kept rewinding and watching again and being like, does it work? Well, even if it doesn't work, it kind of works, right? Like, I think it works. So that was really fun. That it was really quite an experience. I think it worked way better than it should have.
I think one of my favorite memories from the shoot was when we were on the stairs, and it was my maybe murder scene, and just dealing with Michael with the mask and trying to get the shot correct, because there's a lot of like physical struggle, and we all kind of did our own stunts. So just keeping it safe for everybody was important to everybody on set. So I think just going through that, and the kill scenes were really fun for me because I love that kind of stuff.
I will say I was so stoked when I saw that I got to smash a glass bottle over Michael's head, which was really fun. We used a glass sugar bottle, so it breaks very, very quickly. But it was really fun to do. As an actor, there's things that you want to do on screen, and for me, like being in a cool fight moment like that was definitely one of them.
Liesel, who's my closest friend in the script, was the only woman that I already knew previously as well. We had worked together in another project.
I wouldn't always be the person who would say, yeah, totally, I'll be roommates with people that I'm acting with, but Trista not only volunteered the room that she was in to also be my room, but then slept on the floor. And I was like, you're the lead this is an enormous bed. I'll put pillows down. We can do whatever. She was like, no, I'm fine. I would be going to bed and she'd have all of her script pages all laid out like in an arc around her. I love her so much. Sharing a bathroom with Trista, not only sharing a bathroom with her, but sharing a bathroom that didn't have a ceiling that was closed. True intimacy. but it was lovely. It was great. It was actually really special when I think about waking up in the morning in the cabin and just having Trista there like already working on all of her things. Yeah, summer camp.
I invited her to share my room, and I gave her my bed, and I was sleeping on the floor, and I was just so thrilled. And now we've been able to be better friends as well, so that's very special for me.
I really feel very lucky that I got to shoot those couple of dialogue, like the bedroom dialogue scenes that I got to do with her. Really felt like, oh, I think we're really doing some acting today. Like this is our Lifetime movie moment.
Do you have nightmares? Sure. Everyone does.
I felt that the rest of the cast were superbly perfect for their roles. I remember being very sort of intimidated and impressed because we were all staying at this location, and then they started cooking all these meals.
One of my fondest memories from the shoot was cooking for everyone. That became a source of pride for me. And like once I kind of started small. Like I took over in the kitchen a little bit the first day, and then the second day a little bit more. And then by the time we got to the final, I was like, this is my moment. And I sent the guys out with like a grocery list, and they came back with the things, and I was just I had like an apron on that I'd found from somewhere, and I was in there, and I was like, yes, we're gonna eat well, we're gonna enjoy this moment.
And they start making these meals, and I really thought, and they were so impressive and beautiful, and I was like, fuck, am I supposed to be cooking? Like, I don't know how to cook. Am I supposed to be cooking these meals? So I was so impressed with them that I was intimidated by them.
I would love to say about the rest of the cast, it was just great to work with everyone. We were small but mighty. Nobody was afraid to kind of get their hands in and add and help one another. It can be so rare, in this industry to like connect. Sometimes you don't connect with one person, not one person that you work with. And it's not guaranteed that you're going to make buddies. It's not guaranteed that you're going to make friends. It is guaranteed that you're going to jump in and get your work done and kind of, keep delivering in that way. So I'm just full of gratitude for the ways that people were willing to work together and make friends and share lines and kind of like share themselves with each other. Like it would have been a totally different experience to not have had the team we had and the generosity everyone had to just kind of like shoot the shit with you here and there, bringing in a really nice sense of comfort, especially to be like in such close quarters with one another. And we forget about how powerful like one off energy can create, like one. So for everyone to be kind of intentional about being about their work and being positive towards each other meant a lot to me, honestly, like a lot more than anyone could ever know. It's why I cooked. I could never express it, but I cooked because I needed to have some gratitude shown of how comfortable I felt and how confident I felt in what we were making.
And we had everybody together. It was such a great group. We had so much fun being at the cabin and just working together and having meals together and, sleeping next door to each other and all of that kind of stuff. So the whole, I think, vibe of the shoot was definitely one of my favorite things. Like if every set I'm on could feel that friendly and fun, then like that's great. That's what movies should be.
Oh, and everybody celebrated my birthday. I wasn't expecting anything, so it was really nice, especially coming into a group of people that I mostly didn't know. It was really sweet. It made me very happy. The stealth operation of birthdaying me was very, very lovely.
So Richard and I wanted to surprise Sophia and Michael with like a little mini wrap party, and the cast. I think everybody gave this project their all, and so I thought it was just like the right thing to do to sneak over to town and grab a cake. I didn't make the cake, but I did decorate the cake myself, which is kind of funny. And then we brought champagne, and everybody got to celebrate, and it was a really wonderful, wonderful little party. And Sophia and Michael worked so hard and just, they give their all to everything, every project that they're involved with. So it's like the least that we can all do is just like support them and give them all the love that they deserve. Well, I thought it was really interesting, possibly being the only football slasher out there. We don't know. I thought it was an interesting angle. The football itself with the barbed wire is very scary. Like, think about like somebody chucking that at you. No thanks. The mask itself was so terrifying and gross, and I thought that there was going to be like ooze coming down on me. So I was grateful that there wasn't, just because I was doing my own wardrobe and I don't remember if I had any duplicates.
I didn't interact much with Smash Mouth. I had one scene with him, but I could barely look at the mask, which was really surprising to me because I'm a horror nerd. I love effects, makeup. I love, creatures and gory stuff, but there's something about that mask in particular that I just did not want to see. And that was really exciting to me. Like, that's really fun, for a hardened horror nerd to look at someone that I know put something on that I've seen sitting on a table and instantly be like, nope, that's not for me. I don't like it. I don't like his lolling tongue and his big crazy teeth and his crazy eyes. It just gives me the creeps, which makes it my favorite.
Now, shout out to the mask. Horrifying in all light. Horrifying at any time of the day. Scary at all angles. Like, it really had some power to it. And it was disgusting and beautiful. I loved working with it. I feel like there's not many more scary things. Like, it's funny because that to me was scary throughout. Whereas like everything else in the film, it would be like, oh, I'm making the film, so I know everyone and I know that we're going to cut. And I'm maybe even behind the camera for some of those scenes and like enjoying kind of watching and just being a part of. But the mask, it got me. It got me every time. I hope I never see it again.
So Michael playing Smash Mouth was really hilarious because both of them were burning like both ends of the candle and just constantly, it felt like a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week shoot because they were just constantly filming. Even when I was done with my scenes, I would leave and come back and they were still filming different things. And so they're both super troopers for getting this done in like the time period. I'm guessing it was like a short you know, we only had a certain amount of time at the cabin. But watching Sophia get Michael dressed as Smash Mouth with the wig and then trying to get the mask on him was pretty funny.
First of all, that mask was incredible. When we got to set, it was, you know, put out on a table or something, and we all got to look at it. And I was so floored at how gruesome it looked. And even, I think you can kind of tell this on screen, but even if it's just, you know, sitting on a kitchen table, it has like saliva goop on the tongue and around the mouth, and it looked so gross in the most perfect way.
So I worked on End Zone 2 before I ever met Joe Castro, who designed the mask, because he designed the mask but wasn't on set with us. And then I just loved this mask. I know a lot of the other women were horrified by the mask, and that, I think, was Joe's, I think that makes Joe very happy. But for some reason, I'm like very endeared. I don't know, maybe I have like an affinity for deformed faces, but I'm like very like enamored by the mask. I love the mask in like not a way that it repulses me. And that's not to say his work isn't amazingly repulsive. It's just, I like it.
It was disgusting looking, and I mean that in the biggest compliment possible. And I think it was also really cool in the way that it was made, as if it was made in the 70s. It was made, you know, to match what they could have done at that time, which was very interesting because now we do so many things like prosthetic makeup and we build onto an actor's face, which gives a lot of movement. But this mask didn't have any movement. But I think even though it was static, it had so much life. And I think that is kind of a really cool, creepy, and maybe deceptive thing about masks in general. And I think also as an actor, you know, like at some point in theater school, you do mask work, which kind of reminded me of this, that even though you're not seeing expressions change, you can see so much and feel so much if an actor is wearing a mask, if what they're doing with their body and their voice is matching what the story should be.
So, and then afterward, I worked with Joe also on his film, and opposite a character that he designed, which also had a deformed face, a mask as well, and that character's name was Derek, and I really fell in love with that character too. So something about Joe's work and something about these faces, they elicit something from me, which is great as an actor because you need to be able to elicit emotions, right? And I have a lot of empathy for them, and I just think they're beautiful.
You know, I don't think that was maybe an intent to do like, you know, commedia dell'arte in the middle of this movie from 1970 that was actually in 2019. But it was, I think, kind of a fun way to think about it after the fact. And also, I remember when we were working with it, no matter who was in the mask, because spoilers, it was a few different people. I think that you've probably heard that by now. A few different people inside the mask. You know, making sure that that person was okay and could see and knew what was going on and felt safe. And that was kind of a fun team effort to take care of Smash, whoever Smash was at the moment.
There's something I love about a complicated premise, and I don't know, I feel like some of my favorite art exists in this space that is hard to explain. So it felt like I had a cool little secret. And I think if I had had the feeling that maybe the movie wasn't going to come out, it would have felt very different. Because I've been involved in lots of projects that never see the light of day, but the confidence that I had that the project was going to come out and that people were going to see it, and that in the meantime, I had this little secret. Like there's, you know, oftentimes when you work on something, you can't talk about it. You're on NDA, or you shoot a commercial and then it doesn't come out, and then it never comes out. So you have this secret that you can't talk about, and then there's no point in talking about it. But I loved I kept checking the IMDb to see, oh, there's like new details, new names have been added. Oh, now End Zone 1 credits are up there. Oh, that's cute. Like I love building that mystery so much that I feel like when it came time to help tell people that it was a movie that I was in that they could come watch, I didn't want to give up. I didn't want to give up the info. I wanted to keep it a secret. I wanted to be so sneaky about it that then most people did not realize that I was talking about something that I was in.
Keeping it a secret was really fun. And, I've heard all kinds of stories, but one that kind of comes to mind is Gal Gadot talking about when she got Wonder Woman and she was on a plane and it just landed and she got a phone call, and I assume her agent was like, "You got it, you're the new Wonder Woman," and she couldn't tell anyone because it was all NDA, hush hush. And I was like, I'm Wonder Woman. I cannot talk about this project. It is the NDA. It's a secret until it is not a secret. And so I personally had a lot of fun with it. And now that, the cat's out of the bag, I can't wait to show everyone. I was even on the way over here on the phone with my parents, telling them that I was coming to do this interview. And they're like, when can we see it? It's like, as soon as the Blu-ray is printed, it's going to be at your house. Don't worry. So very excited that, now it's all out there in the open.
I used a pseudonym of Percy Wynne because the movie is, a 70s movie. And that was unique to me. I'd not done anything like that before. It did, I guess it makes it sort of difficult to promote in some aspects, but I'm not great always at that anyway. So it can be difficult to promote oneself and one's work sometimes. So that, I don't know, in some ways it made it a little easier for me, I guess. I just thought it was cool. There's a lot of artists that I really like and respect that had a pseudonym. So I just thought, I get to have one too.
Not being able to promote the film as myself, and because it was supposedly a lost 1970s film, was a little bit tricky to navigate, because I'm all for supporting like weird projects. I love a strange and unusual project. So it was fun for me, but it was a little bit in the beginning, a little bit difficult to navigate. And probably to this day, except for this right now, I don't plan on mentioning anything publicly. And I have been asked on different podcasts or in person, and I just kind of like shrug it off my shoulder, like, oh yes, I've heard of that film. I owe a lot to Dahlia Dimont.
I enjoyed my pseudonym because I tried to make it like a wink, wink, nod, nod. Our initials are the same. There were some challenges though, because there were many times I wanted to be like, look, everybody, like I'm in this cool thing. And but there were times too, I would even go and check my IMDb and just see kind of like what was happening with it from that vantage point. So I think the challenge there was just not ever doing it before. Like not ever doing it before, probably doing a little too little because I didn't want to be doing too much. But I don't know anyone else though who's worked on a project similar to this. So it's not like I could even compare myself to anyone other than the girls that were also in it, that I feel like we were also kind of in the same place. And everyone working on it in many ways, just kind of being like in that same boat. I think the good give is being able to be like, now, haha, behind the mask, it's me. And that has such rich rewards now that we're here. But I think at the time, sure, I think there was this kind of way that and I've said this before, but that I just kind of like just pushed it way to the back of my mind. Like, don't even think about it. Don't even think about it. Like, there's nothing to do. Like, don't do anything. Don't think about it. And now that we're at a place of like here, I'm grateful for really for it unfolding the way that we planned. Like it's nice to see it kind of like uncover itself like as was planned that many years ago, and to see a plan come into action. And so now obviously if we weren't here now as we are, I'd be like, damn it, This was the worst. Where's my credit? Like, but to be where we are now, it feels like such a great place to have such a great project, to be a part of 2 projects, to be a part of. Nothing but gratitude at this point.
So my actor name was Patricia Ford, and when we were on Neil's podcast the other day, we were talking about, somebody was saying, oh yeah, somebody used their grandma's name, and I used my middle name, I used my performer name. I remember my boyfriend Jack and I were sitting at his table trying to figure out what my actor name was going to be. And we'd been watching all the, research movies that got sent to me and looking at the names and the credits going like, oh yeah, it's that kind of name. It's that, we need that. There's a certain like old timey, so nothing too contemporary, something that says like, oh, this is an actor in this era. And so we were looking at all these credits, trying to pick and choose, portions of names to make something happen. And I remember very distinctly, he said, oh, we should just take some bits of names from people that you like, from performers that you like. So Patricia Ford is Patti Smith and Harrison Ford. And he said that, and I was like, yes, sold. Those are my two people. Yes, absolutely. There are other people that it could be, but Patti Smith and Harrison Ford is who I'm bringing into this.
Oh, Percy Wynne. Well, my cat who has passed away, his name was David Percival. So, and I sometimes called him Percy by his middle name. So, yeah, it was very sort of special for me.
Endzone 2 may be the first slasher that actually passes the Bechdel test.
Hey, Shelly, can I talk to you for a minute?
With the footage of Endzone incorporated into Once and Future Smash, it was very fun because I had forgotten how much kind of BTS we shot.
We have had a couple of issues with one of the actors.
I loved it. I loved, seeing everyone playing their characters, not only in the movie, but then we all also had our actors that we were playing, which were various kinds of actors in the world.
It was just so funny to see these little moments from Endzone 2 out of context. And I loved it. It made it feel more real to have those little bits of ours. I think I had only thought of it as because we shot fake BTS as our actor characters, and I knew that was going to be in the Once and Future Smash, but I don't think that for some reason, I don't think I expected there to be bits from the actual movie that we shot in there. So it was very special. It made me feel like I was in 2 movies rather than just one.
So because I wasn't staying at the cabin with everybody else, I was staying about a block away in an Airbnb with my family, I wasn't able to do the behind the scenes on set. So I did mine kind of like a year or 2 later. And so it was kind of fun because Sophia and Michael got to look at the footage and see what everybody was talking about. And so I was able to kind of collectively bring everybody's interviews together, and they were able to give me some different lines to say that kind of made everything work. And so that was fun, diving in as the character again and getting to play pretend with them.
I think on the last day we were in Lake Arrowhead, we shot on 8mm film. We each, as actors playing these parts, went and did an interview. And it was really, really fun seeing those snippets because it was one of the few things that I didn't get to see happen in real time. I wasn't out on the porch or wherever we were shooting these out on the porch. I remember mine was out on the porch. I don't remember where everyone else was. But, we weren't watching each other. So I didn't know what anyone else said until the movie came out, which was really, really fun, just to have this made up, snarky set drama. It was a blast. It was very cool to see.
So we knew ahead of time what the plans were for the film, that it would be promoted as like a found and restored film from 1970. And I think we all were excited about that and thought it was cool. I'm not exactly sure. I think when I watched it, I asked myself, would I buy it? And you know what? I might. I recently watched Five Desperate Women, which was sort of very similar. I'm not sure if everyone did believe it. I wasn't on the festival circuit with the film, but I'd like to say, oh, I would never fall for it. But I think there's a good chance that I would.
Seeing the final product was amazing. I had so much fun at the premiere. That's where I got to finally see the film and on the big screen. I thought it was beautifully done. I wasn't expecting it to be as 70s as it came across. I thought that it was like, just everything was so beautiful. I thought that the color, the sound, everything was wonderful.
When I was shooting, I'm dealing with a lot of inner demons, so I'm not responding to the rest of the cast, like I mentioned, like I normally would have, because I'm not really mentally healthy. So I wasn't really, I don't think, taking in their subtleties, their nuances, their multi-layered work. And then I was able to watch the film and appreciate their performances, I think, in ways that I wasn't really able to on the day.
Watching the movie, I think, first of all, it's much more aesthetically pleasing than I was picturing. I don't think I had a vision of, what it was going to look like or that it was going to look bad or anything like that, but it has this real genuine, warm, vintage look to it that makes everything look better.
The premiere was so overwhelming for me. I think we were right on the heels of when COVID was a big deal. It was after that. So I got to see a lot of people, aside from just the film, I was seeing all of my friends, really for the first time since COVID had been a big thing. It was very emotional to see the film and to see all these people that I love for the first time after some really scary times. So that experience was really just a blur for me. I was really nervous and really scared, and then just overwhelmed with feelings of love for all of these faces that it was almost like a dream.
I don't really read the script twice, so scenes that I wasn't in were very fresh for me. And so learning the whole story in real time with the audience was really fun. And I think I almost died laughing. It was so funny. And I probably messed up my makeup too, just because I was laughing so hard.
It was really a reunion of people that I love. That I was afraid I might never see again.
My experience seeing the Once and Future Smash and the double feature and End Zone 2 together for the first time was kind of mind-blowing, because I felt like End Zone 2 was filmed very secretly.
COVID happened in the middle, and that happened to a lot of people in a lot of movies. And I'm sure, even before that, there would be reasons that it would take a while for a movie to come out from the time it was shot. But it was really, really great to see it so long after it came out, because I'd totally forgotten what I personally had done. I remembered the story, of course, but it was so far removed from being on set. I felt like I was almost able to watch it with totally fresh eyes, because I hadn't been in that space for so long. I hadn't lived in that character's body for so long. So that was really interesting. And then I personally saw it at our premiere at Screamfest, which ruled. It was so fun. And I also got to see the Once and Future Smash before. And that was such a cool experience, to see something like that with a full theater in LA at a horror film festival. The energy was unmatched. And it was so fun and funny, and it felt so real, and it made what we did in End Zone feel so real.
It's so odd. It's so odd and funny and amazing and original.
And it ended up all making sense. But yeah, I wasn't really aware of what the first movie was, like completely what it was going to be about.
You know, the movie actually turned out differently than I expected. In this, I think the style became more clear. I feel like when we initially met, or when I initially met Sophia and Michael, and they explained it to me, I thought I knew, but when I actually saw the film, I understood fully. And it actually called in like things we talked about in the inception and the creation time, but then later sort of seeing it, there was definitely a nostalgia and like those beautiful scenes where Trista is just cheering. You know what I mean? Like some of those specific moments and the way the sounds also really contributed. I don't think I could have anticipated. Like there were some elements to it that I was surprised by in a really good way that I think really showed a sophistication to it. But obviously, while making it, I had fun. I had goofy fun with my friends in this cabin and many years prior. And so to finally see the final, there was like a sophistication, I'll say again, that I really admired and really loved. And it was just like, oh my God, I can't wait for people to see this shit. Like,
I had no idea really about how the Once and Future Smash and End Zone 2 would integrate. Again, I was really just so like focused on my character and doing that justice that I wasn't able to anticipate the grand scheme of things. So that was really fascinating to me because they're two very different films, but obviously they're tethered together.
After that long stretch of time, a pandemic time specifically, then being in a crowded, in the Chinese theater, and you know, when people picture Hollywood, that's one of the things. So to be there, seeing a movie that I had been in, but still have the feeling of like, oh, people don't know that I'm in this movie, maybe?
And seeing it like that, back to back as it was intended, it was just so amazing to see it all come to life. And it was something that I was so excited about and so proud of, even before I knew how it was going to come out, because, you know, I trusted you guys, I trusted the filmmakers, I trusted everyone we worked with. So I was like, I think this is going to be pretty good. But when it came out, I was floored at how awesome it was, and also how I think universal it was. I don't think you have to be a fan of horror movies. I don't think you have to be someone that goes to horror conventions to enjoy both of these films back to back. I think it's something that, you know, could be a crowd pleaser for everybody.
I think because of the way that we shot, End Zone 2, I don't feel connected to the Once and Future Smash at all. So that's why it feels so surprising that I am then also in it. Because it's like, it was a mystery. It was like, I don't know what happens in the, I think I thought it was going to be, you know, a fake documentary. But it is so its own movie. And to kind of realize that the movie that we shot is the supplemental material for that rather than the other way around was a real discovery. It's like, oh, that's the movie that we made. Got it.
I was very surprised by the Once and Future Smash. I had no idea what to expect. It was such a warm reception with an audience of people who just like, I think we're also really happy to all get to be together in a theater watching films, who all, for the most part, I think it was a horror crowd. It was a Screamfest, I believe. So they were just getting all of the horror tropes and jokes and just there as lovers of the genre, and very supportive and enthusiastic. And it was just so special and overwhelming.
I knew very little about the Once and Future Smash going into it. Really, almost nothing at all. I didn't know that AJ was one of the leads in it. I was so delighted. I didn't even know he was an actor. So seeing him be so funny and so charismatic in that movie, it's such a funny movie. It just like was such a treat to see these little bits and pieces of a movie that I had been in this other movie that I didn't know anything about at all.
I also, at the premiere, it was, again, post-COVID, so it was one of the first things where I was able to invite people to. And that was really, really great. My husband came, Aviv. And then also a couple of friends of ours came that didn't really know anything about the project at all beyond what I had told them, which was like, oh, I'm in this cool thing. Because that was part of it as well, was we were playing this as if we were not involved.
Like at the end of the movie, they did the Q&A and they were calling people up on stage. And I remember looking, I think Lianne and I looked at each other and kind of went, no, we're not in this movie. We just look familiar. Okay, we'll stay here. And all of us stayed sitting. It was so funny. It was the experience of being at the premiere is kind of a blur. And I feel like that's sort of always what it's like to go see something that you've done and have people come up to you and want to talk to you. I get so excited that I just sort of like break down and fast forward through until I'm in the car going home. And then I get to have the moment of like, oh yeah, that was very cool. But yeah, the anxiety of just being in that space, I think takes over. It was so much fun though. We got dressed up, we took pictures. I look like a crazy person in every picture from that premiere because I'm in the background of all the pictures having these super animated conversations. My face is like falling apart. It was great. It was great. I loved it.
It was like, I never told anyone until relatively recently, that I was in this fake movie that's supposed to be a real movie that was shot in 1970 that this documentary is based off of, but it's a mockumentary because it wasn't a real movie. That was really, really fun. And also it was really cool because I think, when I signed on to the project, you guys did such a great job of explaining what it was going to be. And as you can tell, like I just did, it's, not incredibly easy to do that. But to just say, hey, I did this cool thing. I really am excited about it. Friends, come see it. And not explain it at all. And then have it be what it was so fun and so cool. And it was also very fun for my husband to see it because he had known a little bit about it, but he wasn't on set. He didn't see what we were doing. He didn't read the script. He didn't know what it was. And I was pretty excited when he said he forgot it was me, which I don't know if you're supposed to think that about, whatever. But
It seemed like a compliment.
It seemed like an actor compliment. Like, oh, you didn't think that was me, your wife. You thought it was, I don't know, some bitch that's killing people in the woods.
All right, so when the premiere happened, I freaking missed it. Now, what sucks is I had my outfit planned and everything. I didn't order it, but I was going to wear a leopard print bodysuit. I have to describe it now because I didn't actually wear it, but I was like, oh, I've got a leopard print bodysuit, red lip, like big hair, like I'm going to give like full tilt. Whatever my idea was of Melody Riviera was who I wanted to arrive at. So my plan was to arrive in like the character of the person that I am not. Anyway, fun. And didn't get a chance to. I was working on a play and during COVID still. And so I wasn't able to leave and come. But I'd never been to the Chinese theater for anything that I had been a part of. So what a freaking big deal and honor. And I hope that I don't miss that opportunity. It will just come back around for me in another way. But I hated missing it. And I was so jelly of all of the step and repeat photos that everyone took and how great everyone looked. But I will say I did send someone in my stead so that she could see everything and report back. And she absolutely loved it. You love having your friends support you even when you're not in town. And so, the tears I shed for missing it, but the joy I feel for now, being here on the DVD.
And I'm glad that I got to actually watch the film again recently at my home, because I was so overwhelmed that night that I don't think I really appreciated the film. I was just like very nervous and thankful. But in my home, in the privacy of my home with like my cat, I could watch the film and just be taking in all of the film, and just I kept stopping it and rewinding it, and I didn't want to miss anything. And I felt like I said, on the day I was so focused on what I was doing as a character dealing with PTSD, and feeling like a responsibility there. And then at the premiere, feeling so overwhelmed and grateful that all these people I love are okay. And then I got to watch the film and take in everything else, take in every Sophia's work, Michael's work, the rest of the cast's work. And that's really special to me. I'm so glad I could do that.
Okay, so when it comes to Smash, there was so much that I was so excited to see. It was very cool to hear it be a concept, a bunch of people sitting around a table in a cabin and saying like, okay, well, this is what we're going to do next, and we're going to do this, and then it's going to be this, and this is the goal. And to go from that to seeing it was so cool. I think for me, it was really, really fun seeing AJ on screen because, first of all, he's an incredible actor. Second of all, I think at the time he had said he had never really done it before, which was like, you're lying. And then it was fun because we had all had this kind of summer camp moment of living in a cabin together for a week. So I felt like we had built relationships and become friends, and it was really cool to see your friends succeed and for all of that to come to fruition. And I think one of my favorite parts of Smash that I totally didn't expect was the animation, because I had no idea that would be part of it. And it looked amazing. It told the story so well. And it was such a fun surprise.
It brought in things about age, longevity, and a bit of like a legacy thoughts that I hadn't really even considered. What are we fighting for kind of ideas. So well done to take such a long view, like not a long view, but I guess to say like, all right, we're trying to get here, and we're gonna stop here and here and here and here and here and here and here, and we're gonna actually give so much for you to appreciate about this idea.
I know a slow burn is not for everyone, but I'm someone who loves acting, right? So I've committed my life to acting. So I love watching films where there's a lot of acting going on. Like I don't need as much action and such. And I know not everybody feels that way, but for me, it's kind of like perfect. I was thinking, I would watch this if there was another actress playing my role. Like it's just an interesting film. Like it just appeals to me. I mentioned Lianne, who's like so lovely in real life, and I just had so much fun watching her be a jerk. And I could tell she was really enjoying it, and she has these amazing facial like reactions, and I was really impressed by that. But everyone was perfectly cast. I loved working with AJ, and everybody loves AJ. He's gotta know that. There's no way he doesn't know that. AJ is in both films, and he's one of those people that, first of all, he's really great. But even if he wasn't, which he is, I think everyone would just love him. I mean, he's a truly lovable person. And you know what I will say about AJ as well is, so for me, like I said, like the women are cooking and I'm like, oh, am I supposed to be cooking? I can't imagine. I'm like completely focused, right? I'm like so absorbed in my character. AJ is like crew too. He's like doing a bunch of stuff. He's like joking around. I'm doing one thing. I'm not cooking. I'm not like putting stuff together like AJ is. I'm in charge of nothing but like my one job. But he's doing a million things. He's sweet to everyone. You know, a lot of times the shoots are uncomfortable. And someone who's doing a bunch of things behind the camera as well as in front of the camera in both films in very different capacities, right? He's very different in both films. And then just the humility alone, I think, is a really invaluable sort of trait for an actor to have. Something about him being a little green, which is not less competent at all, but maybe he's worked on fewer projects per se. But something about that, I think, once you start to get self-conscious, if I had been self-conscious in the seance scene, I wouldn't have been able to do it, right? So once you start to be too self-aware, you want to be controlled and you want to make specific decisions. But I think if you're too self-conscious, that you're going to lose the magic, right? So that's, AJ has a great way in, I think, as a natural actor because he is just a really humble, sweet person. And that's kind of what it takes. It takes like a curiosity of other people, right? An awareness that I feel like he has really naturally, and it makes him respond to others in a way that just like really elevates every scene. And he's just great to be around in general.
How well do you really know Deborah? How well do you really know anybody? Eat it, Nancy! Eat it!
What I remember about that is that he was really nervous. I didn't actually realize it was because of me. That's like too much for me. But I just knew he was nervous. I didn't know it had anything to do with me. And I remember that Michael was so patient with him and kept saying like, no, it's okay. It's okay. Because I remember he kept going up on his lines and feeling, that's why I thought he was nervous, because I thought maybe he didn't know all his lines or something, because he kept going up on his lines a few times. And then Michael kept saying, no, we're not in a rush, we're okay. And I remember registering that as like, that was even soothing to me, because if you were to be like, impatient with him or rude to him, like it would have horrified me, the scene would have been terrible because we both would have closed up and been fearful, And a lot of directors will do that, they don't have tolerance, unfortunately,
So it was really great that with the mockumentary, Sophia and Michael could include my husband, Richard Elfman.
Everyone goes on and on about Smash Mouth. Well, I've always had a thing for the cheerleaders, especially Mary.
And give him a little moment where he could nod to my character from End Zone 2 and say how much he liked Dahlia Dimont's Mary character.
We couldn't find the last 30 minutes, and therefore we had to give the rights back.
I think in the last 30 minutes, my character definitely comes back. She did not die. Because when you hear someone scream off screen, they're not dead. They're coming back because you didn't see them die on screen. So that's my theory. So I think in my imagination of what happens in the last 30 minutes, it's something like I kind of find Nancy and Smash and come to the rescue a little bit. Obviously, I think the idea is we think we've killed him. We haven't, but we think we have. And we get away and we maybe a little Texas Chainsaw style just ride off in the car into the sunset, not screaming, but probably covered in blood.
I think that, here's my pitch for what we should do next. I think that we should shoot the first End Zone. So we're all high school students, but we still play all of our same parts. We don't change anything.
Man, my idea for a sequel would definitely be starring Mary. who survived the second massacre. And I think that she would just be on like a warpath for revenge. It's like, forget about like the trying to do icebreakers. It's like now she needs justice because all of her girlfriends were murdered, or some of them. I only got through half of the film, so we'll see. Oh, perfect. Yes, the last 30 minutes are missing. So.
Oh, I don't know. Deb's already dead at that point. I don't care. They all die. Everybody gets dead, except for Trista. She kicks ass. Everything's fine. I don't know. I'm not in it. That's why I want to do the first end zone. I don't want to do end zone 3. I want to go backwards. I just want to play Deb some more. I love her.
Oh, goodness. My personal theory, or at least what I would like for the last 30 minutes of the movie, is obviously that Linda was pretending again. And she's back.
In end zone 3, all of our twins come in from out of town, and then we all have to figure out the mystery of what happened. Seriously though, the end zone, I think it's a hit. I think that we can end zone it. We're all still in high school, so that's fine. And maybe we do it in a different language. I don't know. It's like the foreign transfer. We can dub ourselves. I've got so many ideas.
I just, I feel really grateful to have been a part of like such an original and project.
So that was a blast. It was really great getting to know a handful of other actors that kind of all have such a passion and a similar work ethic, and anybody on this set I would love to work with again.
I don't know. The more that I live life, and it's so horrifying and scary, the more I am really grateful for good creative experiences with good people.
That Smash Mouth, he's a real special boy. He remind me of my mama. These Hollywood types, they come up and say, you want to be in one of their pictures? And I remember Abbott Costello movie once, and so I said, yeah, all right. Because it get a little lonely up here, so it gave me something to look at, if you know what I mean. I mean the women folk. I just looked, though, no touching, no touching. No matter what you hear from old man Samson, he said about his wife, but that was just a misunderstanding. She looked like a badge, but no mind that. They were playing that hippie music, and I know they were smoking that wacky tobacco. I seen that one fella. He was missing part of a beard. I think he was singeing a fire or something. But I could tell you can't get that past me, But other than that, it wasn't too bad. The one boy, like I said, Smash Mouth, he was a good boy. The rest of them, I just kind of stayed out of the way, you know what I'm saying. They had some potato chips in the house, in the cabin, and they were good eating. And it was mighty nice to talk to some folks besides Betty over here. A lot of lonely nights I spent, conversing with old Betsy here. And I didn't mean no harm to nobody, There's some things in the past, but I never meant no harm to nobody that didn't deserve it, if you see what I'm saying. And I was getting real nervous here, because my mama once told me that if you get a picture, it takes her soul. And I don't know about this here big camera here. I guess that's about it. I can't really reckon anymore.